Oh, hey there. So several years ago, I did a trip to Turkey and Greece, and we went along Paul's second journey, and so we saw all the seven churches from Revelation, and basically all the books of the New Testament. We went to all those places where Paul wrote those letters. So Ephesus, Thessalonica, Galatia, Colossae, all the cities. And along the way, we went to Ephesus, and so somebody asked me to retell the story because they couldn't find it. I'm like, I'm happy to tell the story. I think it's a beautiful story. So in Ephesus, John was one of the 12 disciples. Okay, not me. There's a different John. I'm not the only one. And he was referred to as the disciple who Jesus loved. And so there was the 12, and then there was like the 3 that went up and saw the transfiguration, and then there was 1 that went to the cross and stood there in front of him, and that was John. And Jesus looked down at John while he was, on the cross, and he looked down, and his mother was there, and Mary Magdalene was there, and John was there. And he said to John, "John, behold your mother. Mother, behold your son." And what he was saying to John was, "Take care of my mom. I'm not going to be here. Take care of my mom." And so John did. And they went to Ephesus, where Paul wrote the letter to the Ephesians. So that's Ephesus is the name of the city. And when I went there, it's a big, beautiful city. I mean, obviously it's ruins now or whatever. But when we went there was a Colosseum that held 25,000 people, and amphitheater, whatever you want to call it. In the side of the mountain, it kind of arcs around, and all the seats could see it. And while John was there, in Ephesus, somebody came and said, he's a Christian. And the government's like, well, that's punishable by death. So they brought him to the Colosseum, and they're like, hey, buddy, here's what you got to do. You got to deny Jesus, or else we're going to kill you. And he's like, that I can't do that. I saw Jesus with my own eyes. I watched him be crucified, and I talked to him after he rose again from the dead on multiple occasions. I lived my life for him. I'm taking care of his mother. And if you think that I'm going to deny him now, you're insane. And they're like, well, we're going to kill you. And he goes, do what you got to do. I'm not afraid of you. And so they boiled him in oil. Okay. And I don't know if you've ever gotten a grease burn, but then imagine your entire body being deep fried like something that's being deep fried. And before they dipped him in there, he was asking God to forgive them. He was praising God, and he was singing songs. And as they dipped him into the oil, he was doing all those things. And minutes later, and I've been burned badly. On my feet, I was burned badly years ago, about 14 years ago. And it is agonizing. My feet still hurt to this day. But as he's being boiled in oil alive, minutes later, he's still singing songs, praising God, and asking for their forgiveness, and he's ready to go home, but he's not dying. Now, there was a point where Jesus was talking to Peter, and he said, he was preparing him, like, you're gonna have a hard life. And Peter eventually was crucified upside down, and that's not a fun death. And Peter immediately goes, well, what about John? What about him? I got a rotten life, but what about John? And Jesus said, whatever John has to do, that's between me and John. Why don't you worry about what you have to do, and that's between me and you? And he said, in fact, if I want John to live until I come back, that's between me and John. Well, then this rumor got started that John would never die, but that's not what he said. He said, if I wanted him to live, then he would. And so they tried to kill him, and he would not die. And so after a while, this crowd of 25,000 people is like, maybe there's something real about this guy's God, because we've never seen anything like this before. And the people in charge were like, get him out of here. Get him out of here right now. And that's when they exiled him to the island of Patmos, and he was there for quite some time. While he was there, he ended up writing the book of Revelation. That is the last book in the Bible, okay? Very interesting. He also wrote the Gospel of John. So there's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And so Matthew, Mark, and Luke are called the synoptic Gospels because Mark is shorter, and it looks like the other two read Mark's Gospel and went, yeah, this is all good points, but let me add these things too. But John's was like, I didn't even read Mark's or anybody else's. This is my testimony of Jesus. Nevertheless, so he wrote the Gospel of John, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, those are letters, and then the book of Revelation. Eventually, that ruler dies, okay? John comes back to Ephesus, and he's living in the city again, and then they come to him again and say, we heard you're a Christian. He's like, man, you're quick. And so they're like, well, we're going to have to kill you unless you renounce Jesus. And he's like, well, that's never going to happen, so let's get this over with. And so they forced him to drink poison. Well, guess what happened? You want to take a guess? He didn't die. They forced him to drink poison, and he didn't die. After being boiled in oil, and he didn't die. And real quick, the crowd once again starts to turn, and they're like, maybe this Christianity thing is for real. And they're like, get him out of here. Don't ever try to kill him again. We're done with him. Well, it turns out that John had a disciple named Polycarp. Okay, so John was a first-generation Christian because he saw Jesus with his own eyes. He was with Jesus. Polycarp was a second-generation Christian because he was with somebody, John, who was with Jesus. So 1-2 steps away. Okay. Eventually, Polycarp is also in Ephesus in the same amphitheater, and they bring him down and they say, we heard you're a Christian. He's like, no kidding. This is not a secret. And they go, well, we're going to have to kill you. And he goes, I figured. And they're like, but we kind of like you. You're a nice guy, and we don't want to kill you. We don't really care if you believe in Jesus or not. We don't care at all. Just say that you don't believe in Jesus. And Polycarp says, for these 80 years, Jesus has been good to me. He has done everything in the world for me. He gave his life for me. He saved my soul. And if you think I'm going to turn my back on him now, you're insane. So they talk for quite a while. And he says, look, God told me last week, I'm going to be martyred. Okay. I've made my peace with it. So to be honest with you, I'm an old man. And if you're going to kill me, then please kill me. And if not, I'm honestly getting pretty tired. So maybe I can just go back home now. And they're like, ooh, we're going to kill you right now. And he goes, let's get it over with. I'm not afraid of you. Let me be clear about that. I'm going home. I'm going to be with my Savior. You do not scare me. And so they're like, we're going to burn you at the stake. And he goes, go right ahead. So they make a big pile of wood, and there's a stake up through there, and they put him up there, and they're going to nail him to this wooden spire, okay? And then set him on fire from underneath that. And he goes, you don't have to nail me. And like, oh, you're going to try to run. And he goes, I will not. You do not scare me. I'm going home to be with my king. And they're like, but if you try to run, if you try to get down from there, we're going to kill you. And he goes, as opposed to, yeah, I'm going to die either way. I've made my peace. And so they prepare the fire. And just like John before him, he's praising God. He is raising his hands up, and he's singing songs, and he's asking God to forgive them for what they're doing to him at that moment. Okay? The fire starts. The fire gets huge. Minutes later, in the middle of a fire, he's still got his hands raised, and he's singing songs, and he's asking God to forgive these people, and he's ready to go home. And somebody goes, remember John? Remember we tried to kill him twice? And they're like, yeah. Well, that's his disciple. That's the same guy. You know, this is the same, something's up with these people. And they're like, kill him quick. And so they run a spear through him, and it did kill him. Now, here's the important part, okay? First of all, I applaud his bravery and the fact that he did not cower. Like, I want to die like that. Let's be clear. But then, when they killed him, they said it didn't smell like burning flesh. It didn't smell like, death. It smelled like bread being baked. It smelled like incense, like a holy offering to God. And the pagans to this day speak of the death of Polycarp. And I stood where that happened. And I was like, I want to be like those men. Those men are fearless. And the Bible clearly says there are no cowards in heaven. They stand up for their faith even to the point of death. And I'm like, that is what I want to be. Love you guys.